The gospel message is the message that unites all of the Bible, all of biblical literature, and to put it more specifically, Jesus Christ in particular is the central figure of the Bible. In the Old Testament, there's a Messiah who is predicted or anticipated or prophesied. From the earliest days after sin enters the world, God promises that there will be a coming deliverer, a seed of the woman who will deal the lying serpent a fatal blow. Now that's not very much information, but it's enough to have a bit of hope. But as the books of the Old Testament unfold, you get increasingly more information about the nature and the identity of this coming messianic Savior. We learn, for instance, the town of his birth and the time of his arrival historically, the miracle-working nature of his ministry, the means of his death, even the fact of his resurrection. All of these things are foretold in ancient biblical prophecy. The New Testament presents Jesus as the historical fulfillment of those messianic promises. In other words, Jesus is not just a figure, not just a sort of a figurehead of a set of platitudes, but the Bible presents to us the proposition that God has become a man, the incarnation, the ancient Hebrew term Emmanuel, God with us. So Jesus is the story of God becoming a man to be that promised Savior for us. Born in Bethlehem, exactly as foretold. Engaged in a miracle-working ministry, exactly as foretold. Died by crucifixion, exactly as foretold. Moreover, that death was the reason for which he came. In Jesus' own words, he came to give his life a ransom. In other words, the point of his ministry or of his coming was to give his life as a substitute for our own. The Bible describes us all as sinners, as guilty before a holy God who knows our every thought and deed. Jesus comes to bear the death penalty for us. He dies in our place. He defeats death in his resurrection from the grave, proving the efficacy of the sacrifice that he's made. And now the message is all who trust in Jesus on the basis of his death and his resurrection are forgiven, are given new life, made new. And this, moreover, is a message that's simple and intended for everybody everywhere. There's a reason, for instance, that John 3:16 is one of the most famous verses in the Bible, where the Lord himself says, "For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whoever believes in him should not perish, but have everlasting life." In other words, it's trusting in Jesus and on the basis of his merits, his death, his resurrection. When we trust in him, the benefits of those things are applied to us, so that we're given everlasting life, we're forgiven, we're made new, we're promised a place in heaven.